Summer break may be a time of excitement for kids, no school, more play. But for a lot of parents, it comes with a different kind of pressure from juggling childcare. How do you take care of the kids while working? And work to managing family finances and routines. The break can feel like anything but a break. Joining us this morning is Keri Roberts, Communications Director at Serenium Therapy and Wellness, to help us understand why summer can be so stressful for parents and what they can do to protect their mental health and stay balanced through it all. Keri, welcome to you.
Thank you, Ken, for having me. Excited to be here.
You bet. Let's start with what may surprise people. Why is it that summer, which is typically seen as a fun time, why is it such a big source for stress for parents?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, for kids, it can be really exciting. There's no homework. You get to see your friends. You might stay in. But for parents, it is a stressful time for multiple reasons. Number one, it's a challenge to find reliable childcare. So especially for parents that are working, whether that's in the office or remotely, we're also finding that a lot of parents struggle with the change in structure. So when you had your child going to school at a certain time, doing homework at a certain time, sports at a certain time, that change can feel overwhelming to kids and to parents alike. And then we also find that there's a challenge between finding a balance to having your kids doing fun, enriching activities over the summer, but also making sure they're not overwhelmed and you're not creating financial strain for the family. And then the last thing I'll add is that not always the case, but many times childcare activities and responsibilities can fall on the mom, and that can create a little bit more stress for mothers who are working, whether it's in the home or outside as well.
Why is the life shift stress such a big and common issue right now?
I think in 2025, we have different stressors as parents than people did years ago. So it's not the same. We are seeing a lot of changes where parents are, some of them working from home. So you still need a quiet space. We are seeing that mix of going back into the office, where in 2020 and 2021, maybe it was easier to be at home and things are getting more expensive. So trying to manage all of that can feel very overwhelming for parents.
Now, asking for help is key, right? But a lot of parents struggle with asking for help. And there are ways that you could begin a conversation with a partner or a friend. What's the best way? Or even relatives like grandma and grandpa, right? How do you approach grandma and grandpa and say, you know what, I need a break. Would you mind taking Junior for a couple of hours? How do you start that?
Yeah, so as you said, asking for help is the number one thing. It can feel challenging because it feels like we're being weak, but that's not the case. So whether you're asking your local community, which could be your family, your friends, your neighbor, I usually start by saying, go up to them and ask them to see if they have any activities where you're coinciding. So if your neighbor is having the same camp as you are, maybe they take the kids in the morning and you pick them up. Being able to ask a grandparent, maybe they can watch the child one day a week, so you're not doing childcare that you have to pay for beyond that. Maybe in exchange, you make them dinner one evening. So there are different ways to kind of be reciprocating within the community. But I think it's also important to sit down and chat with your spouse, really sit down and create a time where you can think about a strategy. What are the things that are stressful? Being really honest with each other about what you both need in terms of time management, as well as emotionally, and creating a plan for your family. And then the other thing I like to add is that it's important to really consider maybe looking to speak with a therapist. So clinical therapists, how they can be there to listen and to understand. In fact, for our practices, we find that 30% of our clientele are actually coming to therapy for things like what we're talking about. They're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, potentially anxious with everyday activities and life. And a lot of them are parents. And so it's not just the summertime, it's during the year, it's managing schedules, managing work, managing their relationships, and really finding a safe space that they can have those conversations. So whether you're asking for help from your community or from your significant other or from a clinical therapist, it's really just about being forward and asking questions, because everyone is there to support you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think too many people do not consider therapy, and it's such an incredible. I mean, I've been to therapists for 100 different reasons over the years, and it's just the help you need to get over the hump. And I mean, if you have very, very deep psychological challenges, there are other, you go to psychologists for that, et cetera. If you have the daily stresses, therapy on a regular basis is a good thing, even if it's once a month, once a week, whatever it takes, depending on your challenges, or even as I have a friend who has 2 different therapists for 2 different issues. And it's an amazing thing. And now you could do, I'm sure, telehealth. I'm sure Serenium does that as well. There's no excuse for not taking care of yourself emotionally. And if you take care of yourself emotionally, right, then everything else can kind of come into play in a very smooth way for the week, because it kind of puts you in the right light. And why is it you think so many people are reticent to there's that stigma from years ago that somehow it's okay if you have a flu and you go to the doctor and you get treated for that. But if you have a psychological challenge and you go to a doctor or a therapist for that, that somehow shows weakness. Where did that start?
Yeah, I think, sometimes we see things in movies and we think that's the way it is. For many years, you saw people lying on a couch, and people writing notes, or they had a really crazy problem. And we really talk about that therapy is there for all of life's events. So when we look at the wellness wheel, it includes things like physical health, mental health, emotional health, occupational health. These are all part of our overall well-being. And so therapy is there to help mentally and emotionally. So we tend to find that there's a few stigmas that a lot of people come to us with. Number one is that it's too expensive, when in actuality, most health insurance companies, including Medicaid, cover mental health therapy. And at Serenium, we cover and use most of the insurances that people have. The second thing is that we find that people think, oh, you have to be crazy to go to therapy. I'm not crazy. And what's interesting is that people come to us, like I said, 30% of our clientele is coming because of just feel overwhelmed, and not sure how to kind of take that next step. And when they come in and share with our clinicians what's going on, the next question they ask is, am I crazy? And our therapists like to say, no, you're just human. You have emotions and feelings and thoughts just like anyone else. And the third thing we tend to hear is that I don't want to be on medication. Majority of our clients are not on medication. Should you and your therapist decide that maybe that's something you need, we have psychiatric nurse practitioners to work with you on that, to decide on medications or how much you would need for when. But majority of people are not. Therapy is really a place to come to be seen, to be heard, to be supported, and provided the tips and tools and techniques that you need to navigate changes in your life, such as the one we're talking about today with summer schedules, but also other things going on so that you can be more prepared in the future as well.
And the life coaching that comes from good therapy is amazing, because it helps whatever the challenges you're having are now. It helps you not have those challenges in the future too. It's so good. Sometimes you just have to step out or let somebody from the outside who's looking at your circumstances help you with good advice, sound advice. And that's why therapy is so good. I could be the biggest evangelist for it, having been through it, but also having been that guy. Before the first time I encountered therapy, I was that guy to say, who needs a therapist? And after going through therapy, I can't cheer it enough as something that everyone should encounter. Even if you think everything is going perfectly, it doesn't hurt to talk to a therapist. What's your website, Keri, for people to get more information?
Yes, so people can learn more about us at sereniumwellness.com. We are also on social media, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook at Serenium Wellness. And as you mentioned, we are all about helping people improve their mental and emotional well-being for all of life's events. So from things that seem everyday and common, anything that's feeling stressful or overwhelming, we have clinical therapists that are educated, that are working with you to help you understand what's going on and to move forward.
If you have a big event coming up that you feel a little bit of stress about, just talk to somebody. Call, really, right? I mean, I've done that in the past where I know I have a big event coming up. I've talked to a therapist about it, and it just makes everything feel that much better. Some coaching advice, some breathing advice, etc. It helps everything. And I, being public speaker for 40 years of my life, believe me, I couldn't have done it without. So thank you. All right, Keri Roberts, come back again. Communications Director at Serenium Therapy and Wellness. That's Serenium with an R, Serenium. Thank you for joining us this morning. Come back again.
Thank you.